Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm John Barber, and thank the Christ football's back. And we're going to cover the Georgia Tech Colorado game that just ended. And so this game seemed like the tale of two halves, and or even a quarter and then a half and then the second half, or even 5 minutes. So Georgia Tech came out of the gates and it was a total mess. I guess it was raining heavily before the game started, and it seemed like the ball was kind of hard to handle. It seemed to affect Georgia Tech more than Colorado because Tech fumbled the ball on their first or second play, and Colorado scored 3 plays, 9 yards, and immediately scored. And that was an exchange between Haynes King and Jamal Haynes, and those two have been playing a lot together. So you wouldn't expect them to be messing up a handoff. But maybe it was just the how slippery things were at the beginning there. And then shortly after, within 5 minutes, the center snapped the ball over Haynes King's head, and that was another turnover. And still within 10 minutes of the first quarter, King scrambled and threw an ill-advised pass, and that was intercepted. So within 10 minutes, Georgia Tech had given the ball to Colorado 3 times. Now, this became somewhat concerning for Colorado fans, or I would think for Colorado fans, when it was still only 7-0 after all of that. So Georgia Tech kept its composure through 3 turnovers right out of the gates, and Colorado's offense just couldn't put it together. You can see that there's something with Salter. You can see he's got the run, the pass. There's all kinds of talent in there. But early in this game, they couldn't quite put it together. They couldn't really get the run going. I mean, they couldn't run at all. And in the first half of this game, Colorado had 48 passing yards, and 39 of it was on one play with maybe 2 minutes left. So they couldn't pass the ball. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't do anything in the first half. And conversely, Georgia Tech was running all over them in the first half. So it was definitely Georgia Tech keeping themselves in this game, and Colorado completely missing out on the opportunity to put them away early in this game. So Georgia Tech ran 44 plays in the first half. Colorado ran 26. So Georgia Tech kind of played keep away with them a bit in the first half too. They had the ball, even though they turned the ball over 3 times. Colorado couldn't do much with it, and that to me really set them behind in a game where they could have put themselves way ahead. And you would expect, with 3 turnovers so quickly, you'd expect a good team to capitalize on that. And this is Salter's first game with this team against live bullets. Obviously he's practiced in spring, but that's not the same as a real game. And Georgia Tech's a good team. I mean, this is the team that beat Miami last year, that took Georgia to the wire. So this team is battle hardened. Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, and the rest of that offense, I mean, they can clearly run the ball. I think they ran for over 300 yards in this game. So it's this team. They're one of my dark horses for the ACC, Georgia Tech. Yeah, so they ran for 320 yards. They had 460 total yards. So you're not usually going to beat a team that puts up 460 yards and 320 of it on the ground. That's going to be really hard to beat. Also in this game, let me see. Let's get over here to the box score. Haynes King had 140 yards passing, 156 yards rushing, and 3 TDs. So I don't know how this guy stays healthy. He gets bashed around so much with how rough that running game is, and he's. I know he gets to the edges, but a lot of his runs are between the tackles. So, I mean, and he got hit in the nuts at one point there too. So this guy, I don't know how. And he played all last season like this. I'm amazed this guy gets through a season playing the way he plays. I mean, this guy is durable and this guy is tough. And on the other side, Salter showed a little bit of what he had. Towards the end of the game, he showed that he's got some moxie, and you can see why he accounted for so many touchdowns in the last couple of years. It was just a little too late, not enough in, and by the end of the game, they just couldn't come back. And when they made it 2020, okay, it looked like maybe we got a game here, but then they immediately give up a long kick return, and Colorado gives up a long kick return and just gives the momentum right back to Georgia Tech. And that running game is such a, I don't know if you want to say it's such a comfort to be able to just to revert to the run and just continually get yards and continually get yards. It's just it's kind of a low risk way to play. And it's just a reassuring way. You just chip away and chip away. And that's kind of what it felt like even when the game was tied. Colorado never really showed they had an answer for Georgia Tech's run game, which is at some point that you're just going to grind you down and grind you down. And that's kind of what they did. And then on the final drive, which the final touchdown was just a quarterback counter for a 45-yard score up the middle with Haynes King. So it was almost that final score was almost indicative of the entire game. As soon as Colorado counterpunched and got back into the game, that doesn't change the fact that they're still dealing with this heavy run attack by Georgia Tech that they just had no answer for. And it's kind of fitting that it was a 45-yard run up the middle by King that ends up finishing them off in this game. So I mean, I guess what are the takeaways for both of these teams? Salter looks like he's got what it's going to take here. There's clearly things to clean up, but you can see the talent. You can just see he can scramble, he can throw, he can buy lots of time. So there's some talent there, but they still need to obviously refine it. And you can't go an entire half with only 40 yards passing. Like that's just not going to work against. That's just not going to work. And you can't not, man, that's a double negative. This is terrible English. You must capitalize more than 7 points on 3 turnovers. This game, if Colorado's offense was more buttoned up, and I understand that the first game of the year, it can be more sloppy on offense than defense. But if they were more buttoned up early in the game, this should have been like a 21-0 game in favor of Colorado by the end of the first quarter. If they could have capitalized more than they did, there might have been some conservative calls there, like Deion called a punt there on 4th down where he might have been able to go for it. But this was after the 3rd turnover, I think. So that might have frustrated Colorado fans that he wasn't being more aggressive there, and perhaps that came back to bite him, and perhaps that might have kneecapped his team's feeling that they trust him, that he trusts them to keep the offense on the field versus punting it away, especially at that point of the game. Even though Georgia Tech kept turning the ball over, it was clear Colorado had no answer for Georgia Tech's run game. So you would hope he would want to keep the ball in his offense's hand as long as possible versus just giving it right back to Georgia Tech. You just don't want to give a team like Georgia Tech more possessions than you have to. And as dominant as Georgia Tech's run attack was, it's not like they dominated the time of possession. So it was only 32-27 time of possession. So in favor of Georgia Tech, 27 first downs to 19. So Colorado did a lot in the second half to acquit themselves from how completely out of balance the first half was offensively. And obviously by the time there was 2.5 minutes left, it was tied 20-20. So we had a game. They got themselves back into this game. And it's such a weird stat line that the team that had the 3 turnovers outgained the other team and outrushed the other team 2-1. So that's just, I guess that's why it looks weird, because the only way you're going to come and you didn't have to Georgia Tech did not have to resort to passing the ball to overcome all of these turnovers, because Colorado never capitalized on those turnovers. The complexion of this game could have been wildly different if Colorado managed to score a couple touchdowns there, even 2. They only got 7 points. So, and going into halftime, I think Georgia Tech was up. It was 13-10, I think. So they missed their opportunity to force Georgia Tech out of their comfort zone and maybe passing the ball more than they wanted to. And instead, Georgia Tech weathered the storm of those 3 turnovers and just stuck to their run game and just kept grinding down Colorado. And it was just too much, and it was too relentless. And even though Colorado got close, there was no point where, as a Colorado fan, you could feel comfortable that you were really ever going to stop this Georgia Tech rushing attack. Like, yeah, you got a few stops, but in general, it seems as though Georgia Tech was going to keep converting runs more than you were ever going to stop them. So it's, I mean, what are we going to say here? I thought it would be a relatively close game. We did take Georgia Tech, and it kind of sort of looked like how I thought it would look. Colorado's got talented players on the field. They still need this offense to gel, which is totally fair. They lost all their best receivers to four receivers went to the NFL, and a Heisman winner who was the two-way player, Travis Hunter, who was also the best cornerback, and Deion Sanders, who's, say what you will about where he is, he's an NFL caliber quarterback as well. So they lost a bunch of talent, and all of the new talent they brought in, which they had a good, not only a good recruiting class, at least bringing in multiple 4-stars, but they had a good transfer class. But they got to gel. They just have to gel, and it's just going to take some time. And it's almost like the opportunity almost came too soon. It was within 2 plays of the game, that offense, you handed them the ball. They went 9 yards and scored. Then you handed them the ball again, and it's almost as if Colorado's offense just hadn't had time to gel yet to even use the opportunity to their advantage. But you could see them starting to figure it out as the game went along, and you could see Salter settling in as the game went along. You could see Colorado's run game start to come around a lot more in the second half too. It just all started to gel, but it was just too little too late. And that's on offense, but on defense, they had no answer for this rushing attack. So good for Colorado for having 146 yards rushing. That they were dead last in the entire country last year with, I think, averaging 69, 65, something like that a game, which is just terrible. And it's also amazing they won 9 games without that bad of a rushing attack. So Colorado fans, you can hang your hat on that. Looks like they're going to have an actual rushing game here. They went toe-to-toe with a powerful team here, which I think Georgia Tech could be in contention for the ACC. And like I said, this team beat Miami last year, and they took Georgia to 8 overtimes and probably should have won that Georgia game. So this is a strong team that they just went toe-to-toe with, and a team that has a veteran quarterback, a veteran running back, a couple of stud linemen there, and a team that's is well. That's not new to them. Haynes King and Jamal Haynes is not new to them. They've been doing this for a while. So, and you as a Colorado team are still sorting it out. So it's even though it's a loss, it's not terrible the way it ended, because the Buffalo showed a lot of grit clawing back into this game, and which is a funny thing to say given they're the ones that had the three turnovers go their way right at the beginning. And it's not surprising that the Yellow Jackets ran for this many yards. This is just their thing, and it might have been really surprising if Colorado managed to bottle up the Georgia Tech rushing attack, but they couldn't. So, but both of these teams this game doesn't affect either team, obviously, as far as their conference standings. Like the win for Georgia Tech, this is a good out of conference win for Georgia Tech, but everything is still there right in front of Colorado. Any chance that the Buffaloes might have at the playoffs is not going to really have anything to do with winning or losing an out of conference game here. It's going to be winning the Big 12. We know that the committee's probably not going to be all that favorable to a second place Big 12 team, even if it's an 11-1 type team that just doesn't make the conference championships. But we don't know. I mean, they put SMU in there like that last year. So who knows? Maybe there's going to be a representative from the Big 12 like that this year. So this game, I would say, probably has minimal effect on Colorado's chances. It has zero effect on their chance to win the Big 12, which then in turn, I think, means it has basically no effect on their chance to make the playoffs, because to me, their way into the playoffs is winning the Big 12. So that's still alive for them. And, overall, I mean, I thought it was a really good game. It was a little messy at the beginning, but, the fireworks started happening towards the end there. And I think Colorado's got a dude at quarterback, and it's just going to take a little bit of time for him to settle into this offense, and for the Colorado coaching staff to see what they really have and who's got it on game day, and just decide, how to move forward with these players. Again, it's all new to them. They've seen these guys in practice. They haven't seen them against live bullets, and Georgia Tech was some serious live bullets for Colorado, for this staff to figure out what they have. And then a good win for Georgia Tech for overcoming 3 turnovers. That was are horrendous. That you couldn't start a game any worse, and they just grinded it out, stuck to their game plan, and it worked. So I don't know. I'm just so glad football's back. So let me know what you thought of this game in the comments. Did I miss any major key points? Was there something about this game that you thought was a key factor in the game that I didn't cover here? And then stick around. I'm gonna do a review of the Auburn Baylor game. That was another banger we had here too. So appreciate you checking out the channel. If you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend, and we'll catch you next time.